Bhagavate Ramakrishnaya. Om. Salutations to Bhagavan Ramakrishna. Today we take up the life of Upendra Nath Mukhopadhyay. Many types of people used to come to Sri Ramakrishna, many devotees. As you've seen, they came with predominantly spiritual yearning. That's natural because a spiritual person will draw spiritual persons. But Upendra is, I'll say, out of the ordinary. Let's put it like that. One time he was seated with the other devotees in Sri Ramakrishna's room, and Sri Ramakrishna points out to the boy. He was young. This boy visits this place here desiring money. On another occasion, a devotee asked Sri Ramakrishna, well, you blessed everybody, you haven't blessed him. So Sri Ramakrishna says, he did not express to me what he wants, but I know his wish. And that is that his small door should be big. It's understood what it means. And so it will be. Upendra's uncle, he grew up with his uncle, would sometimes remind him that he had neither education nor money, so his life was just useless. And it was hard for this young boy to digest this kind of humiliation day after day. So he tried to help himself. Of course, he was industrious. And then he began, as I said, visiting Sri Ramakrishna. It was probably in his neighbor's house somewhere that he first met Sri Ramakrishna, called Adhar Lal Sen. So this was his desire, his wish. Now, once Sri Ramakrishna was kind of speaking to a devotee, and she had a daughter, and this daughter, her name was Hubby. So Sri Ramakrishna did not like this. What is a hubby or hobby? So he named her, he said, call her Bhavatarini. Bhavatarini is the name of Kali, who is worshipped there in Dakshineshwar. So he looked at that girl and said, this girl will be a good wife to Upendra. And so one time when her mother was kind of there, and she said, you marry your girl to Upendra. Now Swamiji was present there, and he was so annoyed. So he said that the girl was not pretty and her skin was too dark. But the master remarked, saying, no, don't look at that. Saying, there are some very auspicious signs in her, and that would bring good fortune to Upendra. So you see, he wanted money, but it has to come through his wife. And then Upendra, in 1885, he married her. And, once Swamiji, he visited the couple after they had married. And she knew that Swamiji had objected to their marriage. And she was furious when he came. And So she was not serving him anything. So he said, see, listen, you, since you have wrapped yourself around Upendra's neck, I will have to eat your cooking. So that was his desire for money. And you see how Sri Ramakrishna was fulfilling such things. Now, what happened was he, as you know, he used to bring, knowing that Sri Ramakrishna would solve his monetary problems, so he used to bring food to Sri Ramakrishna. And Sri Ramakrishna look at it, no, I want it. So here he was, Upendra. He was born in February 1868 in West Calcutta. At his home of his maternal uncle, the uncle who used to kind of taunt him and tease him. His parental house, his father's house, was in Hooghly, and hardly anything is known about him. But his uncle, who was without children, he raised his nephew up as his own son. And his uncle itself was working as a kind of a small watch repairer in a shop in what is called Radha Bazaar in Calcutta. And so his financial condition wasn't good. Upendra, as we know, he started his primary school, but then he discontinued. So he was a dropout. Apart from not having any skills, no education, his future prospects were bleak. So he dropped out of school and took up a job in a kind of a pharmacy. His job was to clean, in those days, the pharmacist used to mix all the various concoctions. And so his job was to wash the bottles, label them. And when he realized the pharmacist was not honest, he stopped working for him. And he got another job in a bookshop. And the bookshop was near Calcutta, Chitpur Road. So his monthly salary was 5 rupees. That was in those days. Now it's just cents. So, and his duty was to clean the shop, arrange books, etc. And after some time working for this bookseller, the bookseller decided to sell his business because it wasn't doing well. For 75 rupees, that is, take it as dollars. And so Upendra, he was, very ambitious, and he wanted to get rich. So this is the opportunity. He said, sell it to me. But he never had the money. So he goes and tells his aunt, say, this is what it is. So his uncle was saying, no way I'm going to give you that money. His aunt gives him the money secretly, and he buys that shop. Now, what he did as the owner of the shop, he collected a few kind of comic books. He published them in one volume, and that was selling. And then he published a book on, it's called Rajbhasha, that's like the royal language, English. And that sold like hotcakes. And slowly he's making money now. So here, and he was very industrious. He reimbursed his aunt within 3 months of the loan that he had taken. So when he used to come to Sri Ramakrishna, he asked him, what's your name? Upendra. Upendra means, a small king of the gods, Upa and Indra. And so, oh, you're a Brahmin. So is there a regular worship at your place? Oh, there, we have worship of Narayan, Vishnu. So there is daily worship. So he said, get me some prasad. And returning home, he was thinking his aunt might misunderstand the whole thing. But he did tell her that somebody wants prasad who stays in Dakshineshwar. And his aunt was simple. She gave him the prasad and he carried it to Dakshineshwar, and Sri Ramakrishna ate a little of it, and he served those who were there with him, Rakhal and the others. So that very eating had begun changing his fortune. That's why, you give to Sri Ramakrishna, you will get it. So Laura Glenn, who later became Sister Devamata, she was a devotee from New York, and she had gone to India. So she says writes in a book, at one time there was a very poor boy who used to come almost daily to Sri Ramakrishna, but the master never took any food he brought. We did not know why. Finally, one fine day, Sri Ramakrishna, that this poor fellow comes here because he has a great desire to be rich. So saying, very well, let me taste a little what he has brought. And he took a small quantity of that food. The boy's condition began to improve immediately. And today he is one of the most prosperous men in Calcutta. So there it was. So when Sri Ramakrishna was blessing everybody on the 1st of January 1886, so he was blessing everybody. And Upendra was there saying, what do you want? So he said, money. Oh. So there it was. So you have money. So this was, but you must understand one thing. People used to go to Sri Ramakrishna, I want a knowledge of Brahman, I want the knowledge of Ishvara, I want to overcome Maya and all this, I want spiritual vision, I want bhava and this and that. But Upendra, I want money. So, but one thing you must understand, that he was not just money hungry. And his entire life proved that he had true devotion to Sri Ramakrishna. And Sri Ramakrishna, he is the wish-fulfilling tree. He'll give you what you want. But in this case, there was a kind of a uniqueness. He gave him the money, of course. He became rich. But that money was going to be used in the service of Sri Ramakrishna's devotees and disciples. So Sri Ramakrishna saw, he'll need money to serve all the other people there, my devotees, when I pass away. So this was why he granted him immediately, okay, have money, you want money? Okay, take it. Now, Upendra, he wasn't really well known amongst, because he kept a kind of a low profile. And when he was young, say that, he was quite a good-looking boy. And that's the reason why when he married, and everybody is saying, what kind of marriage? Thank God in those days, the women used to wear a veil. So, yeah, that was Upendra. He, as I said, he was good looking and this and that. Of course, he had no desire to marry, but since Sri Ramakrishna had made all the arrangements, he relied on that, trusted this thing, let's say. So Bhavatarani and Sri Ramakrishna, one time on the day Sri Ramakrishna passed away and he was cremated, they had all gone to the cremation grounds, so the banks of the Ganges at Kashipur. And so when they had finished the cremation, and they were, that's a ritual that you bathe in the Ganges. And as he was bitten by a snake there. And so they tied a tourniquet and all these things. They saved his life. But it took 6 months for him to fully recover. And all through, he had that kind of scar on his leg. What he did was, as his bookshop was kind of doing well, he became a publisher now. And so he also brought a small printing press. See how Swami Vivekananda had said, Upendra was his friend. He's got a real good business sense. Okay, so otherwise you have money, you squander it. Useless, you can say, enterprises. Here he said, so he bought a press and he became a publisher, and one of his first work was to start a Bengali magazine called Gyanankur, the blossom of knowledge. And Swamiji, in order to help him, he had translated the Imitation of Christ, not the whole thing. And that he used to publish it serially, of course, from English to Bengali. And as I said, that his book on English primer was doing very well. He also then he published Sahitya Kalpadhruma, another monthly magazine. And he transferred his rights to another very famous, you can say, author. Later, his son, Satish, took over his father's business. Now, Satish also, he wasn't like his father, all his money. So he had gone once time to the Belur Math, and the monks there loved his son. So he said, I want to renounce the world and become a monk. So they had somehow convinced him that this is not the path for you. You go and look after father's business. When Swami Vivekananda returned to India after his tour of the US, and also Europe, he returned in 1897 in February. And there was a reception committee, Girish Ghosh and Brahmananda, and they were meeting and they were worried. Will people show up this early in the morning? And so it will be a kind of the whole thing will fall flat. He was supposed to arrive by train from the shipyard, dockyard there, to Shialda station. And so Upendra then happened to arrive there and he said, hey, don't worry, a lot of people will come in. So I have printed handbills and I have distributed and pasted them all over the city in the main areas. And I've carried articles in this Basumati. There's another, it was a weekly newspaper he had published called Basumati. That Basumati did remarkable work. So he placed those handbills, distributed them, and placards and all he had printed. And so he had painted, had printed Swamiji's picture with garlands and all. And when Swamiji arrived, there was a huge concourse of people there. Upendra said, I'm going to do my side of the bargain, because he was always grateful for Swamiji. And so in the newspapers, he also published a song Girish Ghosh had written in honor of Swamiji's return to India. And Upendra, he printed all these copies in his newsletter and distributed them free, thousands upon thousands. So there it was. So he did his work. As his business was growing, his printing press and all this, he moved to a more commodious, you can say, place. And the number of subscribers to his magazines kept on increasing like mad. And he was, like I said, he knew, though he was a school dropout, yet he was very intelligent. And he got very noted writers and poets, etc., to contribute to the magazine. And long list. Then what happens, he started publishing books, translation of scriptures. And that was one of his great works. So he, on the Sankhya and the Yoga and the Mimamsa. Mimamsa is the earlier part of the Vedas, the philosophy and the earlier part of the Vedas. And Vedanta philosophy, the Upanishad, Bhagavata, and the works of Shankaracharya, Kalidas, and many others. This was a kind of a great, you can say, boon to many scholars who in those days they had those kind of old handwritten manuscripts that was copied and recopied for generations. And now with this printing press, this was the scriptural study proliferated. And now people never needed to sit down and kind of copy old manuscripts. So, and it was again during the First World War, people were kind of, what's happening? So he started publishing a special paper on the latest news, what's happening in Europe in the First World War. And that was again another hit. So Sri Ramakrishna, when he had eaten a little of that food that Upendra had brought, it was something called a jalebi. It's a sugary sweet and soaked in more sugar syrup. And that was Sri Ramakrishna's favorite, of course. He took a little. And so Upendra always used to have that sweet offered to Sri Ramakrishna at all his festivals and everything. Now, so he now began serving monks and devotees. So when Swamiji had returned and he asked Adbhutananda, Latu Maharaj, now he was a typical monk. He didn't want to live under a roof. These are the kind of type of monks in the old days. The world is unreal. Sun and rain and gold is nothing. Totapuri was like that. So, and whenever he was hungry, he used to go and stand in front of Upendra's house, a shop rather. And Upendra looked at it as to give, he should buy something and give it. And later when Latu Maharaj did move into a kind of house, Upendra took him in, saying, "You stay here. You can stay here." And there's a printing press and the workers, a printing press in those old days, the letter press, a clanking sound, deafening. But Latu Maharaj used to be very, undisturbed by all the sounds, etc. And whenever the other monastic disciples used to visit him, he used to feed them also and send them back to the first monastery, Baranagar, in a shared carriage, etc. And so his shop was called Sri Ramakrishna's Inn. All of them, whenever they were hungry, whenever they wanted something, they used to go to Upendra. So when Swamiji had returned and he asked, where are you staying? Who's supporting you? So he said, "Oh, Upen is doing that." And Swamiji was so glad. He was touched by Upendra's generosity and he prayed to Sri Ramakrishna, "Master, please bless him." And the Master was going to listen to Swamiji, of course. Kept on blessing him more and more. because he grew up in dire poverty, he knew how to be compassionate to the poor. No one ever left his place empty-handed. He used to give him something or the other. At times he used to go out of the way. Somebody doesn't have the money to marry off his daughter. He said, today's profits are yours. Okay. And somebody wants medicines, he used to give it. So nobody, and he himself was, like they say, generous to a fault. And this is how he served the poor and the needy, all through. And there are countless stories of how he supported his workers, though like sometimes they used to steal the type. He said, okay, fine. He's poor, he needed the money. So he, as I said, he was a self-made man and he worked hard. Like, yeah, people say Sri Ramakrishna is blessing us and don't have to do anything. No, nothing like that. Sri Ramakrishna's blessings will work when you start working. That's in spiritual life also. People also take spirit. Oh, I've been initiated by so and so and so and so. Oh, really? Then, oh, he was a great soul. What about you? Did he tell you what to do? He said, are you following it? No. And so he was very industrious. And they say that, like Laura Glenn says, that he became one of the wealthiest, not the wealthiest, he became rich, of course. And he used to dress up in style, young man, he used to dress up in style and always walk with a silver cane and, the black coat, satin coat and all that. So one time he said, see, my guru has given me this kind of blessing, this money. And this money is supposed to be spent only on the service of the Lord and the poor. So the little what I get is has made me rich. And he was unstinting in his, you can say, help. He used to help students, poor students, because he knew he was a school dropout. And the sick, there also he practiced, however, spiritual disciplines beyond the people's gaze. Generally what happens is, Sri Ramakrishna says, when you want to practice meditation, etc., go in a corner or in a forest where there's no one around and in your own mind. He also said, the more you display your spiritual practices, the less powerful they become. He used to say, yada gupta tata sukta. So that whatever is really secret and deep will give you that kind of advantage in spiritual life. So he was that. Nobody used to see him doing meditation. They used to see some rich guy going around and all. But he practices spiritualism. So from there he bought another place, more commodious, bigger one. And so that was in what is called a Bau Bazaar. I don't know if those places are still there. And so he used to buy property also, and at times he had to borrow money also, but then he quickly repaid all these debts. And he could see Sri Ramakrishna's grace working in his life. And he was, as I say, he was a loving soul. So Sri Ramakrishna's grace, he wanted money, gave him money. But he's saying he never forgot who gave him the money. And that is why he saw that my life was meant as a kind of a service for the Lord and his devotees. And that had completely changed his ideas about spiritual life in general, and his mind, as he'd say, those who serve my devotees are my best devotees. They say. So he was that. He was one of the best devotees who served devotees. And whenever he found even a writer or an author or somebody without money, he used to go help him publish his books and papers, etc. And though he was like a school dropout, yet he was respected in all these intellectual circles. Yes. All these authors and writers and all the poets, they used to come and contribute. So they respected him. Not only he could talk to them on their level. So that was his great, you can say, achievement. So he had only one son, Satish, and so the monks had driven him away. He had gone to Belur Math to become a monk. We can look after. His son also had that same business acumen as his father had. And so he knew that Sri Ramakrishna will guide him, will guide him in the right path, always. Though he became rich, he had no worldliness. Sri Ramakrishna used to say, the boat should be in the water. The water shouldn't be in the boat. Otherwise, you're going to. So though he was living a householder life, he was an ideal householder. And he was not kind of attached to anything. This is what happens with, I've seen hundreds of devotees, and you can read in their lives, and those devotees of Sri Ramakrishna, there's one thing that is marked in their life: the absence of worldliness. There's a kind of a detachment in their life. They just, it's like a lotus leaf in the water. It grows in the water, but water does not stain it, touch it. So this is, and Upendra was like that. He had everything. He's saying that when he used to walk with style, and he used to smoke a Burmese cigar. He's saying, people say, we never saw him without a Burmese cigar. Cigar from Burma. That was, of course, that was part of British India in those times. And he experienced his Guru's grace constantly. That means, apart from his reliance on Sri Ramakrishna and his spiritual practices, he was, and this is another aspect in a devotee's life. Whatever the devotees, they will start experiencing the Guru's grace. Oh yeah, I remember when one of my teachers, when he used to speak about his Guru, he used to be quiet and salute, and we used to say, we were young. Now, as we grew up, now we know that the Guru's grace is paramount in a devotee's life. There is no doubt about it. Somewhere you turn and look back at your own life and you'll see that you have been kind of been guided. This was happening in Upendra's life. So we do not know how his last days were and what he had a vision or what, etc. But he passed away peacefully. Peacefully in the sense, like here we see, passed away peacefully. Peacefully, consciously. Otherwise, people pass away in their sleep or in their drug state. I mean, pumped with morphine and saying he passed away peacefully. So here, He was conscious. He passed away on March 31st, 1919, at his uncle's house. Where he had started, he ended his life there. But that was on the physical plane. So he, in his spirit, he started his life with Sri Ramakrishna and ended his life in Sri Ramakrishna. Okay. So this is Upendra Nath Mukhopadhyay, who wanted money. He got money, and there are people, Sri Ramakrishna, all in his gospel, all his teachings, he said, oh, you say, the greed, lust and wealth, and he used to constantly, every second page you'll say, yeah. But in Upendra's case, you can see he has made an exception. He said, okay, this guy wants wealth, give it to him. And so it happens when the person is bigger than the wealth person receives. Sometimes the wealth becomes big and the person becomes small. That's a time when you get corrupted. So this is what. So knowing that everything that he ever had was because of Sri Ramakrishna, he dedicated his life to Sri Ramakrishna. Om, peace, peace, peace. Before we leave, the next householder disciple, husband and wife, they are the Ghosh, Nistharini and Navagopal Ghosh. And they also kind of a wonderful couple there. And Sri Ramakrishna loved them a lot. Always people say he loved the monastic disciples. Nothing like that. He loved everybody equally. So, Sunday, we are going to speak on 10 a.m. Shankaracharya, the spiritual colossus. We also have Ram Nam in the evening. And of course, at 9:50 a.m. is the youth program or the mother's children. Children are welcome to come and learn. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. Ram Nam. Okay. Nothing. Yeah? Oh, we can take a